The Zodiac Killer, one of the most infamous serial killers in American history, has remained a mystery for nearly 60 years. His reign of terror in Northern California began in 1968 and abruptly stopped in 1969. His chilling killings were followed by taunting letters and cryptic ciphers sent to newspapers and police alike. Despite the relentless investigation, the identity of the Zodiac Killer remains unknown to this day. But why has this case eluded the grasp of justice for so long? The first confirmed Zodiac murder took place on December 20th, 1968. On that cold night, Betty Lou Jensen and David Faraday, two high school students, were parked near Lake Herman Road in the rural outskirts of Vallejo. They were shot to death by a man who would soon be known as the Zodiac. What made this crime particularly disturbing was that it seemed so random, without motive or warning. The killer shot them in cold blood and left the scene quickly, leaving law enforcement with no clear leads. It wasn't until later that the Zodiac began to communicate directly with the public, sealing his reputation as a monster with an insatiable need for attention. Less than 7 months later, the Zodiac struck again. On July 4th, 1969, he approached Brian Hartnell and Cecilia Shepard at Lake Berryessa. This time, the killer didn't just shoot his victims. He bound them with ropes, then stabbed them repeatedly. As if the act wasn't horrifying enough, he carved a symbol on the car door near where the victims were left to die. Hartnell survived, offering a detailed description of the Zodiac and revealing that he had spoken to his attacker for 30 minutes before the violent assault began. It was a chilling moment of control, the killer seemingly toying with his victims before he took their lives. The most famous of the Zodiac's murders occurred on September 27, 1969. Paul Stine, a San Francisco cab driver, became the killer's final confirmed victim. In a departure from his earlier crimes, Stine was killed in a more public setting on a San Francisco street. His murder was gruesome and unexpected, and the Zodiac left a piece of Stine's bloody shirt at the scene, sending it to the press as a form of proof and a further taunt to law enforcement. For over a year, the Zodiac communicated with newspapers, sending cryptic letters and codes that left the public terrified and fascinated. He claimed to have committed numerous murders, though the police were able to confirm only 5. The Tamanori Zodiac's letters often contained bizarre demands, as well as threats to kill more people unless his messages were published. At one point, he even claimed to have created a cipher that would reveal his identity, though it took years before parts of it were deciphered. In one of his most chilling notes, he included a phrase that seemed to sum up his twisted desires. "I like killing people because it is so much fun." As the years passed, the Zodiac Killer's crimes remained unsolved. The public's fear and curiosity grew with each passing year, especially as the killer's cryptic letters continued to appear in newspapers. Yet, despite all the efforts of law enforcement, the case seemed to slip further from their grasp. Several suspects were considered over the years, but no one was ever definitively linked to the murders. Among the most prominent suspects was Arthur Leigh Allen, a convicted child molester who was known to have been in the area at the time of the murders. His behavior and the circumstantial evidence against him made him a leading suspect, but key forensic evidence, like fingerprints or DNA, never conclusively tied him to the crimes. Allen's death in 1992 ended any hope of securing justice through his arrest. Over the years, new theories have emerged about the identity of the Zodiac Killer. Some have speculated that he may have been a law enforcement officer, someone with knowledge of the systems and methods used by police to track criminals. Others have proposed that he was part of a group of killers, working with others in a disturbing partnership. However, these theories remain largely speculative, without concrete evidence to support them. Many believe that the Zodiac was an intelligent, calculating individual who carefully covered his tracks, making him nearly impossible to catch. Recent advancements in DNA technology have given some hope that the case might one day be solved. While forensic science has made great strides in recent years, there are still significant obstacles to identifying the killer. Many of the physical pieces of evidence, such as the letters and ciphers, were not preserved in a way that allows for reliable DNA testing. Even the crime scenes themselves, which were poorly secured at the time, yielded little forensic evidence that could be used to build a solid case. The Zodiac Killer's letters, once a source of fascination for the public, are now a frustrating puzzle for investigators, as they have yet, to provide any definitive clues that would identify the killer. One of the most disturbing aspects of this case is the ongoing debate over the Zodiac's motives. While it's clear that he enjoyed the chaos he caused, his true motivations remain unclear. The randomness of his killings suggests a psychological profile that is difficult to understand. Many serial killers are driven by personal hatred, revenge, or even a desire for sexual satisfaction. But the Zodiac's motivations seem different. He chose his victims at random, and his letters suggest that his primary desire was fame and recognition. He wanted to be known as a killer, someone who could instill fear in an entire community. His willingness to risk exposure through his taunting letters only reinforces the idea that he was driven by a need for attention rather than personal satisfaction. As the years go on, it seems increasingly unlikely that the Zodiac will ever be caught. The case has now entered its 6th decade of mystery, and many of the key figures involved in the investigation have either retired or passed away. Some even speculate that the Zodiac is dead, having evaded justice for so long. His identity may never be known, and his crimes may never be fully understood. The victims of the Zodiac, like Betty Lou Jensen, David Faraday, Brian Hartnell, Cecilia Shepard, and Paul Stein, have been forgotten by most of the world, but they will never be forgotten by their families or by those who still hope for justice. It is chilling to think that someone so violent, so cold-hearted, could disappear into the shadows, leaving behind only cryptic clues and unanswered questions. Perhaps the most haunting thought is that we may never know who the Zodiac Killer truly was, and the case may forever remain a tragic reminder of how a single person's evil can elude justice for decades. So what is the legacy of the Zodiac Killer? It's a case that reminds us of the darkness that can lurk just beneath the surface of society, waiting to strike when we least expect it. It challenges our understanding of justice and crime and leaves us wondering how many other killers have managed to evade capture. Could there be more out there like the Zodiac, hiding in plain sight, waiting for their moment? As we continue to reflect on this mystery, we can only hope that one day the truth will come to light. What do you think about this case? Do you believe the Zodiac will ever be caught? Share your thoughts below, and don't forget to like and subscribe so we can uncover more stories together. This content is compiled and analyzed based on publicly available information and open discussions.